But her posture was military straight, and her gaze tracked every person within a 30-foot radius with the precision of someone trained to assess threats in seconds. Behind her, Marcus Holloway adjusted his Brioni suit and smiled for no one in particular. CEO of Riverside Grace Medical Center, voted Best Hospital Administrator 3 years running, featured in Modern Healthcare's Top 40 Under 50. He stood close enough that his voice wouldn't carry. "You're not a nurse anymore, Ava," he said softly. "You're a mental patient being transferred for your own safety. That's the official story. That's the only story." Across the terminal, near the coffee kiosk, a man in a dark blazer went rigid. Commander James Reese, Air Force Special Operations, had been standing in line for black coffee and a blueberry muffin. Now his hand hovered 2 inches from his phone, because the woman at Gate 47, the one Marcus Holloway was standing too close to, had just made a hand signal no civilian should know. Thumb tucked, 3 fingers flat, index curved, officer in distress. Threat present. Maintain cover. Reese's pulse didn't spike, his breathing didn't change, but every nerve in his body went to combat ready in under 2 seconds. Because Marcus Holloway wasn't sending Ava Moreau away. He was trying to make her disappear. Before we go any further, if you want to see how this story ends, how justice is served, and how one woman brings down an entire system, stay with me until the very last word. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels, and let's dive in. Ava Moreau had walked into Riverside Grace Medical Center 6 months ago with 8 years of emergency nursing experience, flawless references, and a quiet confidence that made patients feel safer the moment she entered a room. She'd worked trauma units in Detroit, burn wards in Philadelphia, and a level 1 ER in Baltimore that saw more gunshot wounds in a weekend than most hospitals saw in a year. She didn't flinch at blood. She didn't panic under pressure. She did her job, saved lives, and went home. But Riverside Grace wasn't like the other hospitals. It was sleeker, newer, the kind of place where the lobby looked like a luxury hotel and the executive offices had better furniture than most people's homes. Marcus Holloway had built his reputation on efficiency, cost-cutting, and patient-centered innovation, which mostly meant cutting staff, automating systems, and making sure the quarterly reports looked good enough to attract private equity vultures. Ava noticed things, small things. A patient discharged too early, still feverish, insurance maxed out. Another transferred to a partner facility no one had heard of. Medications logged but never administered. Records that didn't match what she'd seen with her own eyes. She mentioned it to her supervisor. Once, Dr. Lena Cross had smiled tightly and said, "We have protocols, Ava. Trust the system." But Ava Moreau had been trained not to trust systems. She'd been trained to verify, document, and act. So she started keeping her own records, notes on her phone, screenshots of patient charts before they were altered, timestamps, discrepancies. She didn't know she was building a case. She thought she was just being thorough. Then came the night everything broke. It was a Tuesday. 3rd shift. The ER was quiet. Too quiet for a city of 500,000 people. Ava was restocking trauma bay supplies when a man was wheeled in, unconscious, vitals crashing. No ID, no insurance card. Gunshot wound to the abdomen, older than tonight, poorly dressed, infected. "Get him stable," Dr. Cross said, "then transfer him to county." Ava's hands moved on autopilot. IV line, fluids, pressure on the wound, oxygen mask. The man's BP was 80/50 and dropping. He needed surgery. Now. "He won't make it to county," Ava said. Dr. Cross didn't look up from her tablet. "Not our problem. He'll die in the ambulance. Then document it and move on." Ava's hand stopped. She looked at the monitor, looked at the man, looked at Dr. Cross. "No." The word hung in the air like a slap. Dr. Cross's head snapped up. "Excuse me?" I said no. He needs surgery. We have an OR. We have a surgeon on call. We're a trauma center. This is what we do. This is a business, Nurse Moreau. And that man has no insurance, no next of kin, and no ability to pay. We are not a charity. We're a hospital. Dr. Cross stepped closer. Her voice dropped to something cold and precise. "You will transfer this patient to County General, or I will write you up for insubordination. Your choice." Ava didn't move. "Write me up." She stayed with this patient, stabilized him, called the OR herself. The surgeon came down, took one look, and wheeled the man straight into emergency surgery. He lived. Ava was suspended the next morning. The official reason? Failure to follow chain of command and unauthorized use of hospital resources. The real reason? She'd made Marcus Holloway's carefully curated system look exactly like what it was. A machine designed to extract profit, not save lives. She thought suspension was the worst of it. She was wrong. 3 days later, she was walking to her car in the hospital parking garage when 2 security guards stepped out from behind a concrete pillar. She recognized one. Carl, usually friendly, always waved. Now his face was blank. "Miss Moreau, we need you to come with us." "For what?" "Mr. Holloway wants to speak with you." She should have said no, should have called a lawyer, should have walked away. But she was tired and angry, and she wanted to tell Marcus Holloway exactly what she thought of his business model. So she went. They didn't take her to his office. They took her to a service elevator, down 2 levels below the parking garage, into a hallway she'd never seen before, windowless, fluorescent, cold. At the end, a door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." Inside, Marcus Holloway sat at a folding table. No assistant, no witnesses. Just him, a tablet, and a folder with her name on it. "Sit down, Ava." She stayed standing. "What is this?" He slid the folder across the table. She opened it. Inside were psychiatric evaluation forms. Incident reports claiming she'd been erratic, paranoid, aggressive. Witness statements from staff she barely knew saying she'd talked about conspiracies, threatened violence, acted unstable, all dated, all signed, all fake. "What the hell is this?" Marcus leaned back. "It's your medical record. Turns out you've been struggling with severe anxiety, paranoia, and delusional thinking. It's sad, really. You were such a promising nurse." Her pulse hammered. "This is fabricated. It's documented by multiple professionals. You're a danger to yourself and others, Ava. We're transferring you to a psychiatric facility for evaluation and treatment." "You can't do this." "I already have." He stood. "Security will escort you to a transport vehicle. You'll be evaluated by a licensed psychiatrist, someone who understands the kind of stress healthcare workers are under. If you cooperate, this will be easy. If you don't..." He shrugged. "Well, resisting psychiatric care is its own kind of evidence, isn't it?" She felt the walls close in. This wasn't bureaucracy. This wasn't retaliation. This was erasure. "You're going to lock me up because I saved a patient?" "I'm getting you help because you're unwell." He smiled. "No one will question it. You've been under a lot of stress. You made some poor choices. Now you need rest." She didn't resist when the guards took her arms. Didn't scream, didn't fight. She just watched Marcus Holloway's face as they led her away. And she memorized it. The facility was called Maplewood Behavioral Health, 40 minutes outside the city. High fences, locked doors, cameras everywhere. They put her in a pale green room with a bed bolted to the floor and a window that didn't open. A psychiatrist came in, Dr. Raymond Keller, late 50s, kind eyes, soft voice. He asked her questions. She answered them truthfully. "Do you believe people are conspiring against you?" "I believe my employer fabricated records to have me committed because I refused to let a patient die." "Do you hear voices?" "No." "Do you feel you're in danger?" "Yes." "Because I am." He wrote everything down, nodded, said he'd see her again tomorrow. She was there for 11 days. No phone, no visitors, no communication with the outside world. Every day, Dr. Keller came in, asked questions, took notes, never said whether he believed her. On the 12th day, he sat down and looked at her for a long time. "You're not delusional, are you?" She met his eyes. "No." "And the records they sent, they're falsified." "Yes." He closed his folder. "I'm releasing you, against the recommendation of Riverside Grace's legal team. They're going to be very unhappy with me." "Why are you doing this?" "Because I've seen this before. Not here, but I've seen it." He stood. "Be careful, Ms. Moreau. Whatever you walked into, it's bigger than one hospital." She didn't go home. She went to a motel on the edge of the city and spent 2 days compiling everything she had. Screenshots, notes, dates, names. Then she sent copies to 3 places: a lawyer, a journalist, and her own encrypted email account. Then she went back to Riverside Grace. Not to work, to confront. She walked through the front doors at 9 a.m. on a Monday. Scrubs on. Badge clipped to her chest. They hadn't deactivated it yet. She walked straight to the executive wing. Marcus Holloway's assistant tried to stop her. Ava didn't slow down. She opened the door. He was on a call. He looked up. For a split second, something like panic flickered across his face. Then he smiled. "I'll call you back." He hung up. "Ava, I heard you were released. I'm glad you're feeling better." "I'm not better. I'm done." "Done with what?" "Pretending this is about healthcare." He stood. "You should leave. You're not an employee anymore. I know what you're doing. I know about the patient transfers, the altered records, the early discharges, the off-book transports." His smile didn't falter. "You're making serious accusations. Do you have proof?" "Yes." "Then take it to the authorities." He walked toward her, slowly. But ask yourself, who do you think they'll believe? A decorated hospital administrator with 15 years of spotless service? Or a nurse who just spent 2 weeks in a psych facility? She didn't back up. "You made a mistake." "What's that?" "You didn't break me." He stopped. Something shifted in his expression, calculation, reassessment. "Security," he said quietly into his phone. 2 guards appeared in under 30 seconds. "Miss Moreau is trespassing. Escort her out. If she returns, call the police." They didn't touch her, just stood there, waiting. Ava turned and walked, but she didn't leave the building. She went to the staff lounge, found a nurse she'd worked with, Rebecca, mid-30s, good instincts, slipped her a flash drive. "If something happens to me, give this to someone you trust." Rebecca stared at the drive. "Ava, what's going on?" "Just promise me." "I promise." Ava left. She made it to her car, started the engine, checked her rear view mirror. A black SUV pulled in behind her, blocked her exit. 2 men got out. Not hospital security. Private, expensive suits, dead eyes. She put the car in reverse. They stepped in front of it. One of them knocked on her window. "Miss Moreau, Mr. Holloway would like to speak with you." "I already did." "He'd like to clarify a few things." She didn't roll down the window, pulled out her phone. The man's hand shot through the gap at the top of the window, grabbed her wrist, twisted. The phone clattered to the floor, the door opened. Hands pulled her out. She fought, kicked, screamed. They zip-tied her wrists, shoved her into the SUV. It happened in under 40 seconds. No one intervened. They drove her to a building she didn't recognize. Industrial. Isolated. Brought her inside, sat her in a chair. Marcus Holloway walked in 10 minutes later. "You shouldn't have come back, Ava." She tasted blood. Her neck throbbed where someone had grabbed her too hard. "People know where I am." "No, they don't." He pulled up a chair, sat across from her. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign a statement saying you fabricated everything, that you were experiencing a mental health crisis, that Riverside Grace provided you with compassionate care. Then you're going to disappear. Quietly. We'll set you up somewhere. New name. New life. You'll be comfortable." "And if I don't?" He looked at her like she was a child asking a stupid question. "Then you'll disappear anyway, just not comfortably." Her heart pounded, but her voice stayed steady. "You can't make people vanish." "I don't. The system does." He leaned closer. "Do you know how many people go missing in this country every year? Hundreds of thousands. And no one looks for most of them, especially the ones with histories of mental illness." She didn't answer. "Sign the paper, Ava. Take the deal. Lev." She looked at him for a long time. Then she said, "No." He sighed, stood, walked to the door. "Put her on the next flight to Montana. Involuntary transfer. New facility. No communication privileges." One of the men stepped forward. Ava tensed. Then her training kicked in. She shifted her weight, rolled her shoulder, swept his leg. He went down hard. She drove her elbow into the second man's throat. He staggered back, gasping. She ran, hands still zip-tied, vision blurring. She hit the door, shoved it open, sprinted across the parking lot. Behind her, shouting, footsteps. She didn't stop. She made it to the street, flagged deep down a car. The driver, a woman in her 60s, took one look at her face and unlocked the doors. "Hospital," Ava gasped. "You need an ambulance." "No, just drive, please." The woman drove. Ava slumped in the back seat, breathing hard, zip tie cutting into her wrists. Her phone was gone. Her car was back there. But she was alive. For now. The woman dropped her at an urgent care clinic. Ava stumbled inside. A nurse took one look and called for help. They cut the zip tie, checked her injuries, asked what happened. She said she'd been mugged. They wanted to call the police. She said no, they didn't push. She walked out 2 hours later with a cervical collar, painkillers, and a discharge sheet that said contusion, minor trauma, follow up in 72 hours. She had no car, no phone, no ID. They'd taken her bag. But she had one thing Marcus Holloway didn't know about. A contact. Someone she'd worked with years ago. Someone who told her, if you ever need help, real help, call me. She found a payphone, dropped in quarters, dialed a number she'd memorized and never written down. It rang 4 times. Then a man's voice, clipped, professional. "Reese?" "It's Moreau." Silence. "Ava?" "Yeah." "Where are you?" "I don't know. Somewhere in Harlow City. I need extraction." Another pause. "What's the threat?" "Corporate, medical, private security. They tried to disappear me." "Status?" "Mobile, injured, no resources." "I'm 3 hours out. Can you stay hidden?" "I'll try." "Do better than try." "I'm coming." The line went dead. Ava hung up, limped to a diner, ordered coffee, sat in a corner booth where she could see the door, and waited. Commander James Reese made the drive in 2 hours and 40 minutes. He found her exactly where she said she'd be. When he walked in, she felt something unclench in her chest. He looked older, grayer. But his eyes were the same, sharp, assessing, missing nothing. He slid into the booth across from her. "You look like hell. You should see the other guys." He didn't smile. "Talk." She told him everything. The hospital, the patient, the fake psych eval, the abduction, the threat. When she finished, he sat back. "You pissed off the wrong people." "I know." "You have proof?" "Some. I sent copies to a lawyer and a reporter." "Good. That buys time." He glanced at the cervical collar. "You need medical?" "I got checked. I'm okay." "No, you're not." He flagged the waitress, ordered food, then looked at Ava. "You're going to eat, then we're going to a safe location. Then we're going to figure out who Marcus Holloway really works for." "He works for the hospital." "No, he works for whoever's running the pipeline. Hospitals are just the entry point." She blinked. "Pipeline?" Reese's expression hardened. "Patients without insurance. No next of kin. No one looking for them. Not for them. Well, they're not being transferred, Ava. They're being sold." The diner went quiet. Or maybe it was just her hearing. "Sold to who?" "Labor, organs, medical trials, depends on the market." He leaned forward. "You stumbled into something bigger than healthcare fraud, and now they're trying to clean up the mess." "I'm the mess." "You're a witness and a liability, which means they won't stop. So what do I do? You let me handle it." "I can't just hide." "You can, and you will." His voice dropped. "Because if you don't, they'll kill you, and I don't have time to mourn you." The food came. She ate because he told her to. It tasted like cardboard. When they finished, Reese paid in cash, led her to a black sedan parked 2 blocks away, drove her to a building on the outskirts of the city, nondescript, industrial, no signage. Inside, it looked like a command center, computers, monitors. 2 other people, military, she could tell by the way they moved. Reese pointed to a room. "Clean up, rest. We'll debrief in 6 hours." She showered, changed into clean clothes someone had left on the bed, lay down, and didn't sleep, because she kept seeing Marcus Holloway's face, the smile, the certainty, the way he'd looked at her like she was already gone. 6 hours later, Reese knocked. She sat up. "We have a problem," he said. "What?" "Your lawyer's dead, car accident, 3 hours ago." Her stomach dropped. "And the reporter?" Missing. She stood. They're erasing the evidence. They're trying, but they don't know about the third copy. What third copy? Reese pulled out a tablet. The one you uploaded to a secure server 2 years ago, when you were still active. She stared at him. I don't, yeah, you do. And then she remembered. Not Ava Moreau, RN Sergeant Ava Moreau, combat medic, 75th Ranger Regiment, the woman who'd died in a convoy ambush outside Kandahar. Except she hadn't. She'd been extracted, relocated, given a new identity, sent back into civilian life with a skill set the government thought might be useful someday. Reese watched her face. Welcome back. She sat down slowly. How long have you known? Since the day you called. I pulled your file, confirmed your prints, ran a background check on Riverside Grace. He paused. You're not the first nurse they've disappeared. You're just the first one who fought back. How many? We're not sure. At least 12 in the last 18 months. All the same profile, experienced, ethical, no close family. And no one noticed? People notice. They just don't have the resources to do anything about it. He pulled up a map. We think there are at least 6 hospitals in the network. Riverside Grace is the flagship. The others are smaller, rural, underfunded, easy to control. What do you need from me? Everything you have, every document, every name, every date. She nodded. And then what? Then we go to war. She looked at him. They'll come after you too. Let them. For the first time in 2 weeks, Ava smiled. The next morning, Reese took her to a federal building downtown. Plain sedan, no logos. He walked her through a side entrance, up 3 floors, into a conference room where 2 people waited, a woman in a sharp suit and a man with a Pentagon YD. This is Agent Sarah Vickers, FBI, and Colonel Nathan Cross, DOD Inspector General. Ava shook their hands. Vickers spoke first. Commander Reese briefed us. We've been investigating Riverside Grace for 8 months, but we haven't been able to get inside. Why not? Because everyone who tries ends up discredited, transferred, or dead. Cross leaned forward. You have something they want. Proof, documentation, testimony. We need it. Ava looked at Reese. He nodded. She pulled out the flash drive Rebecca had slipped back to her in a parking lot handoff 2 days ago. Everything's here. Patient logs, altered records, transfer orders, audio recordings. Vickers took the drive, plugged it into a laptop. Her face went still as she scrolled. Jesus Christ! Cross stood, walked to the window. How many patients? At least 30. That I know of. And Holloway's running the entire operation? He's the face, but he's got backing, money, legal protection. He didn't build this alone. Vickers looked up. Do you know who? No, but I know where the money goes. She pulled up a second file. Financial records, routing numbers, shell companies. Cross's jaw tightened. This goes federal, maybe international. It does, Reese said, which is why we need to move fast. They know she's alive. They know she has evidence. They'll burn everything and disappear. Vickers closed the laptop. We need her on record. Full deposition. Then we move. Ava nodded. When? Now. They spent the next 6 hours recording everything, every detail, every name, every incident. When it was done, Vickers stood. We have enough for warrants, but it'll take time to coordinate. Days, maybe weeks. I don't have weeks, Ava said. You'll be under federal protection. They got to a lawyer and a reporter in under 12 hours. You think a safe house is going to stop them? Reese stepped in. She's right. They'll keep coming, which is why we don't wait. Cross frowned. What are you suggesting? We make them come to us on our terms. Vickers shook her head. That's not protocol. Protocol gets people killed. So does cowboy ops. Reese's voice went cold. This isn't cowboy ops. This is a tactical extraction of a hostile asset. And I've done it 100 times. Cross looked at Ava. It's your call. She didn't hesitate. I'm in. Vickers sighed. If this goes sideways, I never heard this conversation. Understood. Reese pulled out his phone, made a call, hung up. We move in 72 hours. Ava, you're bait. She met his eyes. Good. The plan was simple. Ava would return to Harlow City, make herself visible. Let Holloway think she was cornered, desperate, ready to deal. Meanwhile, Reese and his team would position assets. Surveillance, recording equipment, tactical response units on standby. When Holloway made his move, they'd have everything. And if he just kills me? Ava asked. He won't. He needs to know what you told the feds, who you talked to, what evidence still exists. Reese loaded a magazine into a sidearm, handed it to her. But just in case, don't go anywhere unarmed. She took the gun, checked the chamber, slid it into her jacket. Felt like old times. 72 hours later, Ava walked into Harlow City Airport, alone, visible, waiting. Marcus Holloway found her at Gate 47. He didn't look surprised. Ava, I was hoping we'd talk. She turned, looked at him. We're done talking. Are we? He stepped closer, lowered his voice. You're not a nurse anymore. You're a mental patient being transferred for your own safety. That's the official story. That's the only story. She didn't respond. Across the terminal, Commander James Reese stood near the coffee kiosk, watching. And then Ava did something that changed everything. She made a hand signal, thumb tucked, 3 fingers flat, index curved. Reese's coffee cup paused halfway to his lips. Because that signal wasn't random. It was military code. Officer in distress. Threat present. Maintain cover. Holloway didn't see it. He was too busy smiling. But Reese did. And so did the 2 federal agents positioned at gates 44 and 50. Ava's voice stayed calm. Steady. You're not sending me anywhere, Marcus. His smile thinned. You don't have a choice. Actually, she said quietly, I do. Behind him, Reese moved. Security radios crackled. A phone rang. Marcus Holloway's confidence didn't just crack. It shattered. The phone rang again. Marcus Holloway's hand moved to his pocket, but he stopped halfway. His eyes darted to Reese, then to the 2 travelers who'd been sitting near gate 44. Except they weren't travelers anymore. They were standing, watching. One had her hand inside her jacket. Holloway's smile became a grimace. You're making a mistake. The only mistake, Ava said, was thinking I'd stay quiet. He pulled out his phone, glanced at the screen. His face went chalk white. Problem? Reese's voice cut through the terminal buzz as he approached, coffee still in hand, movements casual but eyes locked on target. Holloway pocketed the phone, straightened his tie. I don't know who you are, but this is a private matter. Commander James Reese, Air Force Special Operations. He didn't show ID, didn't need to. And no, it's federal now. Federal? Holloway's voice climbed half an octave. This woman is a patient. She's under psychiatric care. She's delusional. She's a decorated combat medic with 8 years of emergency nursing experience and 0 history of mental illness prior to her employment at Riverside Grace. Reese stepped closer. Want to try again? The terminal felt smaller suddenly. Travelers slowed. A child stared. Holloway's jaw worked. I'm calling my lawyer. Go ahead. He's probably already calling his. Reese's tone stayed flat. Because the FBI just executed search warrants on Riverside Grace, your home, and your office. If I were you, I'd be more worried about what they're finding than what story you're selling. Ava watched the blood drain from Holloway's face, watched the calculation behind his eyes, fight, flight, negotiate. She'd seen that look before, on insurgents who realized the convoy they'd ambushed had backup. It never ended well for them either. Holloway took a step back. I want to speak to my attorney. You'll get your call. The agent from Gate 44 appeared at his elbow, mid-30s, blonde, federal credentials already out. Sarah Vickers, FBI. Marcus Holloway, you're being detained for questioning in connection with a federal investigation into healthcare fraud, human trafficking, and conspiracy. You have the right to remain silent. Human trafficking? His voice cracked. That's insane. I run a hospital. I save lives. You disappear people. Ava's voice was quiet, cold. 12 nurses, 30 patients, maybe more. All the ones who asked questions. All the ones who didn't fit your profit model. His eyes snapped to hers. You don't know what you're talking about. I have recordings, Marcus, documents, financial transfers. I have everything. Something dark flickered across his face. Not fear anymore. Rage. You have nothing that will hold up in court, and when this falls apart, when your little breakdown is exposed for what it is, I will destroy you. Reese moved between them. Not fast, just there. You're done talking. Vickers nodded to her partner. The man from Gate 50, stocky, graying, looked like he'd been doing this since before Ava was born. He moved behind Holloway. Cuffs clicked. This is a mistake, Holloway said. I have lawyers, I have connections, you're making a career-ending error. Funny, Vickers said. That's what the last guy said. They walked him toward the exit. Holloway twisted back, eyes finding Ava. You think you won? You think this ends here? She didn't answer, because she knew it didn't. Reese waited until Holloway was out of sight before turning to Ava. You okay? Yeah. You don't look okay. I'm fine. He studied her face, the cervical collar, the bruises. We need to move you to a secure location, now. Why? You got him. We got one piece, the network's bigger, and they just watched us arrest their frontman on national soil. He glanced at the terminal cameras. Every second you're visible is a second they can find you. She wanted to argue, wanted to say she wasn't hiding anymore, but Reese's expression left no room for debate. Where? Safe house. 40 minutes north, surveillance, secured perimeter, tactical team on standby. She nodded. Let's go. They moved fast. Out a side exit. Into an unmarked SUV with tinted windows and government plates. The driver didn't speak. Didn't look back. Just drove. Ava watched the city slide past. Harlow City. She'd been here 6 months. Felt like 6 years. How long have you been tracking Riverside Grace? She asked. Reese didn't look away from the window. 8 months. Started with a tip from a hospital in Montana. Patient transferred from Riverside Grace, no records, no history, just showed up sedated with a fake name. By the time we traced it back, 3 more had appeared. Same pattern. Why didn't you shut it down? Couldn't prove chain of custody, couldn't connect the hospitals. Every trail went cold. He glanced at her. Until you. Lucky me. Lucky us. You gave us the thread. Now we pull until the whole thing unravels. The safe house sat at the end of a gravel road surrounded by woods. Single story. Nondescript. Could have been a vacation rental or a meth lab. Armed guards at the perimeter gave it away. Inside it was sterile. Functional. Surveillance monitors lined one wall, a tactical map on another. 3 agents already present. 2 men, 1 woman, all military bearing. Reese introduced them. Lieutenant Marcus Shaw, Communications, Sergeant Denise Wu, Intelligence, Agent Tom Brennan, Tactical. Ava shook hands. How long am I here? Until we neutralize the threat, Reese said. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. She hated it, hated being protected instead of fighting, but she'd been in enough firefights to know when to hold position. What do you need from me? Everything you remember, every conversation, every name, every detail. Reese pulled up a chair. We're building a case. The more we have, the tighter the net. She spent the next 4 hours walking them through it. Every patient she'd flagged, every altered record, every suspicious transfer. Wu took notes. Shaw recorded. Brennan cross-referenced against federal databases. By hour 3, they had a pattern. It's not random, Wu said, pointing at the screen. Every patient transferred from Riverside Grace ends up at one of 6 facilities, all privately owned, all operating under different corporate structures. But if you dig deeper, she pulled up financial records. Same parent company, Meridian Health Solutions. Reese leaned in. Never heard of them. Most people haven't. They're a shell, registered in Delaware, owned by another shell in the Caymans. But the money trail leads back to a private equity firm in New York, Vanguard Capital Group. Ava felt something cold settle in her chest. How much money are we talking about? Millions, maybe more. Hard to say without subpoenas. Wu pulled up another screen. But here's the thing. Vanguard doesn't just own Meridian. They own stakes in pharmaceutical companies, medical device manufacturers, clinical trial operations. It's vertically integrated, which means they control the supply chain, Reese said quietly. Exactly. They acquire patients through Riverside Grace and the other hospitals, Transfer them to Meridian facilities where they're classified as psychiatric or long-term care. Then they use them for labor, organ harvesting, experimental drug trials, whatever generates revenue. Ava's hands curled into fists. And no one notices because the patients don't exist on paper. Right, no insurance, no family, no records, they're ghosts. Brennan looked up from his laptop. We've got a problem. Reese turned. What? Vanguard Capital Group just issued a statement. Says the FBI raid on Riverside Grace was a gross overreach based on falsified evidence provided by a mentally unstable former employee. They're calling it a witch hunt. Of course they are, Vickers said, walking in from outside. She'd arrived 10 minutes ago, still looked like she'd run a marathon. They're lawyering up, and they're fast. How fast? Federal judge just issued a temporary restraining order blocking us from accessing Riverside Grace's servers pending a review of the warrant. She dropped a folder on the table. We've got 72 hours before it goes to a hearing. If we don't have ironclad evidence by then, the whole case collapses. Reese's jaw tightened. What about the flash drive? Good, but not enough. Holloway's lawyers are arguing it was obtained illegally. That Ava stole proprietary medical records in violation of HIPAA. That she altered files to support a delusional narrative. That's insane. That's expensive legal representation. Vickers pulled up a chair. We need more. Testimony from other victims. Financial proof. Something that ties Vanguard directly to the trafficking operation. What about the patients? Ava asked. The ones who were transferred, can we find them? We're trying, but most of the facilities are locked down. No visitors, no outside communication. And the patients are listed under fake names. Wu shook her head. It's going to take time we don't have. Ava stood, paced. Her neck throbbed. Her head pounded, but her mind was clear. What about the staff, she said. The people who work at Riverside Grace, nurses, techs, security. Someone has to know something. Reese considered. They'd be scared, threatened, paid off. Maybe, but not all of them. Ava thought of Rebecca. The flash drive handoff in the parking lot. There are people who saw what was happening, who didn't like it, who were too afraid to speak up. And you think they'll talk now? If they know it's safe. If they know they're not alone. She turned to Vickers. Can you offer protection? Immunity? For testimony? Yes. But we'd need to approach them carefully. If Vanguard finds out we're flipping witnesses, they'll clean house, Reese finished. Intimidate, disappear, kill. Silence settled over the room. Then Ava said, So we move fast, tonight, before they know we're coming. Vickers frowned. That's not protocol. Protocol is why 12 nurses are missing. She's right, Reese said. We wait, we lose. We move now, we might get ahead of them. Brennan pulled up a list. I've got addresses for 15 Riverside Grace staff members, nurses, orderlies, admin, all within a 30-mile radius. Split into teams, Reese said. 2 agents per target. Offer protection and immunity in exchange for testimony. Record everything. Move quiet. If anyone refuses, we back off. No pressure. No exposure. Vickers looked at Ava. You stay here. No. Ava, these are my colleagues, people I worked with. They'll trust me more than a badge. And if Vanguard has someone watching them, then we'll know who's compromised. Reese shook his head. Too risky. Everything about this is risky. Ava met his eyes. I'm not hiding while other people fight my battle. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Reese sighed. You go with me. You stay in the vehicle. You don't engage unless I clear it. Deal. They moved out at 2100 hours. 3 teams, 6 targets. Reese and Ava took the first 2, Rebecca Hale and Jordan Stone, both nurses, both on shift the night Ava had saved the gunshot patient. Rebecca lived in a modest townhouse 20 minutes from the hospital, lights on, car in the driveway. Reese parked 2 houses down. Wait here, he said. Ava watched him approach. Knock. Wait. The door opened. Rebecca's face appeared, cautious, tired. She saw Reese, started to close the door. He said something, showed ID. She hesitated. Then Ava stepped out of the vehicle. Rebecca's eyes went wide. She looked at Ava, at Reese, back to Ava. Then she opened the door. Inside, Rebecca made tea no one drank, sat on the edge of her couch, hands shaking. "I thought you were dead," she said. Ava sat across from her. "Almost. They said you had a breakdown, that you were transferred to a psychiatric facility." "They lied." Rebecca's eyes welled. I knew the whole time, but I couldn't." "It's okay." "No, it's not." She wiped her face. "After you left, things got worse. More patients transferred. More nurses quit. Anyone who asked questions got reassigned or fired. I kept my head down. I hated myself for it." Reese leaned forward. "Miss Hale, we're building a federal case against Riverside Grace and its parent company. We need witnesses. People who saw what happened, who can testify." Rebecca's face went pale. "They'll kill me." "We can protect you." "You can't. You don't know these people." "Actually," Ava said quietly, "we do. And we're taking them down. But we need help." Rebecca looked at her for a long time. "What do you need?" "Everything you remember, names, dates, conversations. We'll record your statement, put you in protective custody, and bring you in when it's time to testify. And if I say no, then you say no. We walk away. No consequences." Rebecca's hands twisted in her lap. "There's a doctor, Dr. Nathan Cross. He works nights. He's the one who processes most of the transfers. I heard him on the phone once, talking about quotas, about shipments." Reese's eyes sharpened. "When?" 3 weeks ago. I was in the med room. He didn't know I was there." "What did he say?" "That he was short 2 units. That the Montana facility was demanding delivery by Friday or they'd find another supplier." She swallowed. "He wasn't talking about supplies. He was talking about people." Ava's chest tightened. "Did you report it?" "To who?" "Holloway? He's the one running it." Reese pulled out a recorder. "I need you to say all of that again, on record." Rebecca nodded. They spent 40 minutes recording her statement, every detail, every name, every overheard conversation. When it was done, Vickers sent a team to collect her. She'd be in federal custody by midnight. Jordan Stone was next. He lived in an apartment complex near the hospital. 3rd floor. No answer when they knocked. Reese tried his phone. Voicemail. They waited. 20 minutes later, a car pulled up. Jordan got out, late 20s, scrubs, looked exhausted. Reese approached. "Jordan Stone?" Jordan froze. "Yeah?" "Commander James Reese. I need to talk to you about Riverside Grace." Jordan's expression went blank. "I don't know anything?" "I think you do." "I'm tired. I just worked a double. I don't have time." Ava stepped into view. Jordan stopped, stared. "Ava?" "Hey, Jordan. They said you—" He looked at Reese, back to Ava. "What's going on?" "We need your help," Ava said. He shook his head. No way. I'm not getting involved." "You're already involved." "I kept my mouth shut. I didn't see anything. You saw them take me." Her voice stayed calm. "You were there in the hallway when security escorted me out." His face crumpled. "I couldn't do anything." "I'm not asking you to feel guilty. I'm asking you to help stop it from happening to someone else." He looked at her, at Reese, at the building behind him. "If I talk, they'll know." "They already know," Reese said. "The FBI raided Riverside Grace this morning. Holloway's in custody. The network's unraveling. The only question is whether you're part of the solution or part of the cover-up." Jordan's hands shook. "I have a kid. A daughter. She's 4. "Then do this for her," Ava said, "so she grows up in a world where hospitals save people instead of selling them." Silence. Then Jordan nodded. They recorded his statement in his apartment. He corroborated Rebecca's account, added details, patient transfers that happened off-shift, private ambulances with no hospital logos, security guards who weren't on the payroll. By the time they finished, it was past midnight. Reese's phone buzzed. He checked it, frowned. "What?" Ava asked. "Vickers. They've got 4 more statements, all consistent, all pointing to Dr. Nathan Cross as the primary coordinator." "Where is he now?" "Unknown. He didn't show up for his shift tonight. Home address is empty. Phone's off." Ava felt the hairs on her neck rise. He ran. Or someone warned him. They returned to the safe house at 0200 hours. The team was waiting. Wu had pulled Cross's file. 42, divorced, no kids, medical license in 3 states, 10 years at Riverside Grace. Bank records show a wire transfer this afternoon, Wu said. $50,000 offshore account. Payment or escape fund? Brennan asked. Both, probably. Reese studied the file. We need to find him. Fast. If he disappears, the defense will argue he was a rogue operator, that Holloway and Vanguard had no knowledge. What about travel records? Ava asked. Wu pulled them up. No flights? No train tickets. But his car pinged a toll booth 3 hours ago, heading west on I-90. Reese grabbed his jacket. He's running for the Canadian border. Vickers stood. I'll coordinate with Border Patrol. No time. He's got a 3-hour head start. If he crosses, we lose him. So what do you want to do? Reese looked at Brennan. How fast can you get a helicopter? 30 minutes. Do it. We intercept before he reaches the border. Ava grabbed her jacket. Reese caught her arm. You're staying. No. Ava, he knows me. If we corner him, he might talk, especially if I'm there. Reese's jaw worked, then he nodded. Stay behind me. Do what I say. No heroics. Deal. The helicopter lifted at 0245, black, unmarked, pilot ex-military. They flew low and fast, following the highway, scanning for Cross's vehicle. A silver Mercedes, plates already flagged. At 0320, they spotted it. 70 miles from the border, moving fast but not reckless. Got him, the pilot said. Reese keyed his radio. Border Patrol, this is Commander Reese. We have eyes on the target. Request roadblock at mile marker 340. Static. Then, confirmed. Roadblock in position in 12 minutes. They paced the Mercedes from above. Ava watched the car weave through sparse traffic. Watched the driver, too far to see his face, but the body language was clear. Panic. At mile marker 340, police lights flared, spike strips deployed. The Mercedes slowed, stopped. The helicopter landed 200 yards behind the roadblock. Reese, Ava, and Brennan jumped out, moved fast. Cross was out of the car, hands up, face pale. 2 state troopers had weapons drawn. Reese approached. Dr. Nathan Cross? Cross said nothing. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit human trafficking, healthcare fraud, and obstruction of justice. Cross's eyes darted, looking for an exit, finding none. Then he saw Ava. His expression shifted. You. She stepped forward. Me. You ruined everything. I stopped you from killing more people. I didn't kill anyone. His voice climbed. I saved lives. I kept the hospital running. I did what I had to do. You sold patients. I transferred them to facilities that could provide long-term care. That's not illegal. It is when you falsify records, sedate them without consent, and send them to black sites for medical experimentation. His face went white. I don't know what you're talking about. Reese stepped between them. Save it for your lawyer. Cuff him. A trooper moved in. Cross's eyes went wild. Wait. I can help you. Reese paused. How? I have records, proof, names, all of it. We already have your records. Not the offshore accounts, not the shell companies, not the names of the people at Vanguard who run the whole operation. His voice shook. I'll give you everything, full cooperation, witness protection. Just, please. Reese looked at Vickers, who'd arrived in a second vehicle. She nodded. Talk, Reese said. Cross talked. He talked for 2 hours. In the back of a federal van. Recorded. Witnessed. He gave up names. Accounts. Transfer logs. Meeting notes. Everything. By the time they were done, the case wasn't just solid. It was airtight. Vickers made calls. Warrants issued. Federal agents moved on Vanguard Capital Group's New York headquarters at dawn. By 800, 5 executives were in custody. By 900, news networks were running the story. By 1000, Riverside Grace Medical Center was shut down pending federal investigation. Ava watched it all from the safe house. Monitors flickering, headlines scrolling. Federal raid exposes human trafficking network. Hospital. CEO. arrested in multi-state conspiracy patients recovered from secret facilities. She should have felt relief. Instead, she felt numb, because the people responsible were in custody. But the victims were still out there, still missing, still ghosts. Reese found her on the back porch, handed her coffee. "You okay?" "I don't know." He sat beside her. "We found 6 of the facilities, recovered 42 patients. Most are being evaluated. Some will go home. Some—" He trailed off. "Some won't." "No." She sipped the coffee. Bitter. Hot. "What about the nurses, the ones who disappeared?" "Still looking, but Cross gave us leads. We'll find them. And if we don't, we will." She wanted to believe him, but she'd seen too much, lost too much. "What happens to me now?" "You testify, probably multiple times. Federal court, maybe criminal trials. It'll take months, maybe years." "And after that?" He looked at her. "That's up to you." She didn't answer. They sat in silence, watching the sun climb. Then Reese's phone buzzed. He checked it, went still. "What?" He handed her the phone. The message was short, from an unknown number. "You think you won? You didn't. This is bigger than Holloway, bigger than Vanguard. You just made yourself a target. And we don't miss." Ava's blood went cold. Reese stood, pulled his weapon, scanned the tree line. "Inside, now." She moved fast. Into the safe house. Brennan was already on comms, Wu pulling surveillance feeds. "Anything?" Reese demanded. "Negative. Perimeter's clean." "Then how the hell did they get my number?" Wu's face went pale. "Commander, we've got a problem." "What?" She pulled up a surveillance feed. Timestamp 3 minutes ago. A black van parked 2 blocks from the safe house. Then it drove away. "They know where we are," Ava whispered. Reese keyed his radio. "All units. Potential breach. Locked down. Full tactical alert." Guards moved, weapons drawn, positions secured. But Ava knew. Whoever sent that message wasn't coming now. They were waiting. And when they came, it wouldn't be a fight. It would be an execution. Ava's pulse hammered against the cervical collar. The safe house suddenly felt like a cage. Windows too exposed, walls too thin, every shadow a threat. Reese was already moving, barking orders into his radio, while Brennan pulled blast curtains across the glass. "How long until backup arrives?" Ava asked. 20 minutes. Reese's jaw was tight. Too long. Wu's fingers flew across her keyboard, pulling traffic cam footage, satellite imagery, anything that might show where the van had gone. "Got a partial plate. Running it now." "They're not coming back tonight," Ava said quietly. Everyone turned. "What makes you say that?" Vickers asked. "'Cause if they wanted us dead, we'd already be dead. That van was a message. They're letting us know they can reach us whenever they want." She looked at Reese. "They're playing psychological warfare. Make us paranoid. Make us second-guess every decision." "It's working," Brennan muttered. Reese holstered his weapon but didn't relax. "Then we move locations. Now, before they decide to stop playing." They were packed and rolling within 15 minutes. 2 vehicles. Different routes. Ava rode with Reese and Brennan, watching the highway lights blur past, checking every car that fell in behind them. Her training kicked in. Assess, identify, categorize. Civilian sedan, no threat. Pickup truck, single occupant, no threat. Black SUV with tinted windows staying 3 car lengths back. "We've got a tail," Brennan said, eyes on the rear view. Reese didn't turn. "Confirm." "Black Suburban, government plates. Been with us since the last exit." "Ours or theirs?" Wu's voice crackled over the radio. "That's one of ours. FBI mobile unit. Vickers called them in." Reese exhaled. "Stand down, but stay sharp." The new safe house was a hotel, mid-range chain, anonymous, the kind of place business travelers used and forgot. Vickers had rented an entire floor under a corporate account. Guards in the stairwells, cameras monitoring every entrance. Ava's room was on the 6th floor, clean, impersonal. A bed she wouldn't sleep in and a window that overlooked the parking lot. She stood there for a long time, watching cars come and go, wondering which one carried the people who wanted her dead. A knock. She turned. Reese stood in the doorway, 2 cups of coffee in hand. Thought you might need this. She took one. Thanks. He stepped inside but left the door open. Protocol. We've got a problem. Another one? The hearing's in 48 hours. Holloway's lawyers filed an emergency motion claiming the evidence is tainted. They're arguing that everything stems from your initial allegations, which they say were made while you were mentally unstable. That's insane. That's strategy. They're trying to get the whole case thrown out on procedural grounds. If they succeed, everyone walks. Holloway, Vanguard, all of them. Ava set the coffee down before she threw it. What do we need? Independent corroboration. Evidence that doesn't trace back to you. Witnesses who came forward without prompting. He paused. And we need to keep you alive long enough to testify. You think they'll try again? I think they're desperate, and desperate people don't calculate risk the same way. He met her eyes. That text wasn't random. Someone inside the investigation leaked my number, which means we have a mole. The word hung between them like a blade. Who? Don't know yet. Could be FBI. Could be military. Could be local law enforcement. He moved to the window, scanned the lot. Until we find them, we trust no one outside this room. What about Vickers? She's clean. I'd stake my career on it. What about your life? He looked at her. Already have. Sleep didn't come. Ava lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, running scenarios. Every noise in the hallway made her hand move toward the sidearm Reese had given her. Every car door slamming outside jerked her pulse higher. This was worse than deployment. At least in Afghanistan, she'd known who the enemy was. At 0400, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then she saw the message preview. You saved my life. Now I'll save yours. She opened it. A photo, grainy, nighttime, taken from across the street, the hotel exterior. Timestamp, 20 minutes ago. Then another photo, closer. A man in a dark jacket standing near the side entrance, face partially visible. She recognized him, Carl, the security guard from Riverside Grace, the one who'd helped drag her to that basement room. Her chest tightened. She called Reese. He answered on the first ring. What's wrong? Someone just sent me photos. Carl, one of Holloway's security guys, is outside the hotel. Right now. Silence. Then, stay in your room. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. The line went dead. Ava moved fast. Grabbed the sidearm, checked the magazine. 15 rounds. She positioned herself away from the window, back to the wall, eyes on the door. Footsteps in the hallway. Fast. Multiple people. A knock. Ava, it's Reese. She checked the peephole, saw him. Brennan behind him. Opened the door. He's gone, Reese said. Cameras caught him leaving 90 seconds ago, heading north on foot. Who sent me the photos? We're tracing it now, but whoever it is, they're watching the same people we are. Wu appeared, tablet in hand. Got something. The number that texted you? It's a burner. But it pinged a cell tower 3 blocks from Riverside Grace. And get this, it's been active for the last 6 hours. Multiple calls to other burners, all in Harlow City. Someone's coordinating, Vickers said, joining them. But who? Ava's mind raced. Someone who knew the hotel location, who knew Carl, who had access to surveillance and the technical skill to stay hidden. Then it clicked. Rebecca, she said. Everyone turned. What about her? Vickers asked. She was nervous, too nervous, and she worked IT before she went into nursing. She knows systems, cameras, networks. Reese frowned. You think she's working with them? No, I think she's working against them, independently. Ava pulled up the message. Look at the wording. You saved my life. Now I'll save yours. That's personal. She's not law enforcement. She's someone who feels like they owe me. Wu pulled up Rebecca's file. She's in federal custody. Witness protection. Under guard 24/7. Can we talk to her? Not without clearance, and not without risking her cover. Then get clearance, Ava said. Because if she's got intel on who's coming for us, we need it now. Vickers made the call. It took 30 minutes and 3 levels of authorization, but they got approval. Rebecca was being held in a federal facility 20 miles outside the city. Secure. Anonymous. The kind of place that didn't officially exist. They arrived at 600, cleared 4 checkpoints, and were escorted to a windowless conference room. Rebecca looked smaller than Ava remembered, pale, exhausted, but her eyes were sharp. "You came," she said. Ava sat across from her. "Did you send me those photos?" Rebecca hesitated, then nodded. "I've been monitoring Riverside Grace's security network remotely. I still have admin access. They never revoked it. I saw Carl get a call last night, saw him leave, followed him on traffic cams." "Why didn't you tell your handlers?" "Because I don't know who to trust after what happened to you." Her voice cracked. "I couldn't risk it going through official channels." Reese leaned forward. "What else have you seen?" "A lot. They're cleaning house, wiping servers, shredding documents, moving money offshore. But there's something else." She pulled a folded paper from her pocket. A guard moved to intercept, but Vickers waved him off. Rebecca unfolded it. A printout. Names, dates, locations. "What is this?" Ava asked. "A kill list." Rebecca's hands shook. "I found it in an encrypted email on Holloway's server, sent 3 days ago from an IP address in New York. Vanguard's headquarters." Ava scanned the list. 12 names. Hers was 3rd. Rebecca's was 9th. Dr. Nathan Cross, already in custody, was 1st. A red line struck through his name. "Cross is alive," Reese said. "For now." Rebecca pointed to a notation beside his name. Loose end. Neutralized before testimony. Vickers pulled out her phone. "I'm getting Cross moved to a secure federal detention center. Maximum security. No outside contact." "It won't matter," Rebecca said quietly. "Look at the second name." Ava did. Agent Thomas Carver, FBI. Vickers went pale. "Tom Carver's on my team. He's been with the Bureau for 15 years. He's also been on Vanguard's payroll for 3. Rebecca pulled up another document on her phone. Financial records, wire transfers, offshore accounts, $5,000 a month, every month, for 36 months. The room went silent. "He's the mole," Brennan said. Vickers' face hardened. "Where is he now?" Wu checked her tablet. "Assigned to Cross's transport detail. They're moving him in 2 hours. Pull him, now." "If we pull him, he'll know we're onto him," Reese said. "Better to let the transport proceed. We control the route, we monitor every step, and we catch him in the act." "That's using Cross as bait." "Cross is already bait. We're just making sure the trap works." Vickers looked like she wanted to argue. Then she nodded. "Do it. But if this goes sideways, it won't." They moved fast. Reese coordinated with federal marshals, rerouted the transport through a controlled corridor, positioned tactical teams at 3 points along the route. Ava watched from a surveillance van 2 miles away, headset on, listening to comms chatter. Cross was loaded into an armored transport at 0800. 3 vehicles, 2 decoys. Standard protocol for high-value witnesses. Agent Carver rode in the lead car. "All units, this is command. Transport is rolling. Maintain formation." The convoy moved through the city. Traffic was light. No incidents. Ava watched the GPS tracker on Wu's screen. The 3 dots crawled along the planned route. Then one of them stopped. "Vehicle 2 just went off route," Wu said. Reese keyed his radio. "Vehicle 2, confirm status." Static. "Vehicle 2, respond." More static. Then a voice. "Carver, we've got a mechanical issue, pulling over." "Negative, maintain route. We'll send support." "Too late. We're already stopped." Reese's jaw clenched. "All units, converge on Vehicle 2, now." The tactical teams moved. Ava watched their dots close in. Then Vehicle 2's tracker went dark. "They cut the GPS," Wu said. "How long until teams arrive?" 3 minutes. 3 minutes felt like 30. When the first unit arrived, they found Vehicle 2 abandoned. Doors open, engine running, no sign of Cross or the 2 agents assigned to him. Carver was gone too. "God damn it," Vickers breathed. Reese was already moving. Pull traffic cams, satellite footage, anything within a 2-mile radius. They couldn't have gotten far. Wu's fingers flew. Screens flickered. Then she froze. Got them. Black van. No plates. Heading east. 2 minutes old. Send coordinates to all units. Helicopter. Ground pursuit. Everything. The chase lasted 18 minutes. The van ran 2 red lights, sideswiped a delivery truck, and finally crashed into a highway barrier doing 70. Airbags deployed. Smoke poured from the engine. Tactical teams swarmed. They pulled 3 people out. Carver. Unconscious. Head bleeding. Cross. Conscious. Terrified. And a third man. 40s. Military build. Dead. Gunshot wound to the chest. Who shot him? Vickers demanded. Cross, hands cuffed, voice shaking. I did. They brought him back to the federal facility. Put him in an interrogation room. Reese and Vickers went in. Ava watched from behind one-way glass. Start talking, Reese said. Cross's lawyer started to object. Cross waved him off. Carver pulled his weapon, said the plan had changed, that I was a liability, that they were taking me somewhere off book. His hands trembled. The other guy, I don't know his name, he grabbed me. I fought back, got his gun. I didn't mean to kill him. Where were they taking you? I don't know. But Carver kept saying something about cleanup, about making it look like I tried to escape. Vickers leaned in. Who's running the operation? Who's giving the orders? I don't know names, just titles. CFO, COO. People at the top of Vanguard. But there's someone else, someone above them, someone who doesn't appear on any org chart. Who? I don't know. I swear. But Carver mentioned him once, called him the architect. Ava felt ice in her veins. Reese stood. We need Carver awake. Now. Carver woke up in a hospital bed under armed guard. Federal charges already filed. Lawyer already called. But before anyone could read him his rights, Reese walked in. You're done, Tom. Carver's eyes focused. I want my lawyer. You'll get him. But first you're going to answer one question. I'm not saying anything. Reese pulled up a chair, sat. Cross is alive. The man you brought with you is dead. Your entire operation just collapsed. The only thing standing between you and life in federal prison is cooperation. So here's your question. Who's the architect? Carver's face went blank. I don't know what you're talking about. You mentioned him to Cross, called him by name, so try again. Silence. Reese leaned closer. You think loyalty is going to save you? They put you on a kill list, Tom. You were number 4, right after Cross. They were going to clean you up too. Something flickered in Carver's eyes. You're lying. Vickers stepped in, dropped a printout on the bed. The kill list. Carver's name highlighted. He stared at it. Color drained from his face. They played you, Reese said, used you, and the second you became a liability, they marked you for death. So you can sit here and protect the people who are going to kill you, or you can help us take them down. Your choice. Carver's breathing quickened. His hands clenched the sheets. Then he spoke. His name is Victor Kane. He doesn't work for Vanguard. He owns it. Shell companies, offshore trusts. He's been building this network for 15 years. Hospitals, clinics, rehab centers, all fronts for trafficking. Where is he? I don't know. He never meets anyone in person. All communication goes through encrypted channels. Burner phones. Dead drops. How do we find him? Carver hesitated. There's a meeting. Tomorrow night. New York. Vanguard headquarters. Emergency board session to contain the fallout. Kane's supposed to call in remotely, but if you intercept the call, we can trace it, Wu finished. Reese stood. You're going to give us everything, access codes, encryption keys, contact protocols, all of it. Carver nodded slowly. Witness protection? That's up to the DOJ, but cooperation helps. They spent the next 6 hours extracting every piece of information Carver had. By 1800 hours, they had a plan. Vickers would coordinate with the New York field office, plant surveillance inside Vanguard's headquarters, monitor all communications. Wu would handle signals intelligence, track the call, trace the IP, triangulate Kane's location. Reese would lead a tactical team standing by for immediate extraction once they had coordinates. And Ava, you stay here, Reese said. No. Ava. I'm not sitting on the sidelines while you finish this. You're a witness, not an operator. I was an operator before I was a witness. She met his eyes. And I'm the reason any of this is happening. I'm seeing it through. Vickers intervened. She can monitor from the operations center. Remote, safe, but present. Reese didn't look happy, but he nodded. The next 24 hours crawled. Ava slept in 30-minute bursts, drank too much coffee, ran scenarios in her head. Every variable, every risk. At 1900 hours, Vickers' team confirmed they were in position inside Vanguard's New York headquarters. Cameras. Microphones. Hardline taps on all conference room phones. At 2000 hours, board members started arriving. Expensive suits, grim faces, private security. At 2030, the meeting began. Ava watched from the operations center, Wu beside her, screens glowing, audio feed crackled to life. We're here to discuss crisis management in light of recent federal actions against our medical acquisitions division. Corporate speak. Sanitized, but Ava could hear the tension underneath. The exposure is significant. Multiple facilities compromised, key personnel in custody, media coverage escalating. What's our liability? Substantial, but containable if we act quickly. What about the witnesses? A pause. We're addressing that. Ava's hands curled into fists. Then a new voice, distorted, digital, coming through a speakerphone. Gentlemen, I believe we have a more pressing concern. The room went silent. Who's on the line? Someone asked. You know who I am, and you know why I'm calling. The operation is compromised. Federal agencies are moving. Arrests are imminent. We need to initiate Protocol Omega. That's extreme, but that's survival. Every physical record, every digital file, every witness, erase them. Tonight. Ava's blood turned to ice. Wu's fingers flew. Got him. Signals bouncing through proxies, but I'm tracking. The line went dead. He cut the connection, Wu said. But I got a partial trace, narrowed it down to a 50-mile radius, Northern Virginia. Reese's voice came through the comms. That's half the D.C. metro area. We need more. Working on it. Then Ava's phone buzzed. Another message. Unknown number. Not a photo this time. An address. And 4 words. He's coming for you. She showed it to Wu. That's a private estate, 20 miles outside Harlow City, owned by a shell company, same network as Vanguard. Reese's voice. That's a trap. Ava stared at the screen. Or it's bait. Either way, it's a kill box. We don't go in blind. Then don't go in blind. Send drones, satellites, whatever you need. But if Kane thinks I'm vulnerable, let's use that. Silence on the line. Then Vickers. She's right. If he's targeting her specifically, he'll send assets. We can intercept them, capture them, make them talk. Or they'll kill her. Not if we're ready, Reese exhaled. I don't like this. You don't have to like it, Ava said. You just have to trust me. Another pause. Fine, but we do it my way. Full tactical support, overwatch, extraction on standby. Deal. They moved at midnight. Ava rode in an armored SUV, Brennan driving, 2 tactical vehicles front and back. The estate sat at the end of a long private road surrounded by woods. Cameras, fences, motion sensors. This place is a fortress, Brennan muttered. Good, Ava said. Means Kane values it. They parked half a mile out, approached on foot. Thermal imaging showed 3 heat signatures inside the main house. 2 more in an outbuilding, Reese's voice in her earpiece. We've got eyes on, no movement. Could be security, could be hired guns. Could be nothing, Ava said. Stay alert. They reached the perimeter fence. Brennan cut through. They moved inside. The house loomed ahead, colonial style, white columns, dark windows. No lights, no sound. Too quiet. Ava's instincts screamed. This is wrong, she whispered. Then the world exploded. Gunfire erupted from 3 directions, muzzle flashes in the dark, rounds punching through trees, kicking up dirt. Contact! Brennan yelled, returning fire. Ava dove behind a stone wall, weapon up, scanning for targets. Shadow moved left. She fired twice. The shadow dropped. More gunfire. Reese's team engaged from the perimeter, Tactical lights swept the grounds. Someone was shouting, orders, coordinates, then silence. Ava's ears rang. She stayed low, breathing hard. Clear, Reese called. They moved in, 4 hostiles down, 3 wounded, 1 dead. But no Kane. They swept the house. Empty, staged, furniture but no personal effects. Phones but no service. Computers but no data. It's a shell, Vickers said, arriving with the second wave. He was never here. Ava walked through the rooms, frustration building. They'd been played. Then she saw it. A laptop, open, screen glowing. She approached. A video call window, active, and a face staring back at her. Older man, 60s, silver hair, cold eyes. Hello, Ms. Moreau, Victor Kane said. I've been waiting to meet you. Ava's hand moved to her weapon. Reese was beside her in 2 strides, Brennan covering the door. Wu appeared with a signal detector, scanning for the connection source. Victor Kane smiled. Not warm, not threatening, just pleased, like a chess player admiring an opponent's unexpected move. You can't trace this, he said. The signal's routed through 14 countries and bouncing off satellites I don't technically own. By the time your people narrow it down, I'll be 3 time zones away. Then why call? Ava asked. Professional courtesy. You've cost me a great deal of money, Ms. Moreau. Millions in assets, years of infrastructure, personnel I spent considerable resources cultivating. He leaned back in his chair. Expensive leather, backdrop too generic to identify location. I wanted to see the woman who dismantled my operation. You mean the woman who exposed your trafficking network? Trafficking is such an ugly word. I prefer resource optimization. The American healthcare system wastes billions on patients who contribute nothing to society. I simply redirected those resources to more productive applications. Reese's voice was ice. You enslaved human beings. I provided opportunity. Medical research needs test subjects. Agricultural operations need labor. Organ transplant wait lists need donors. I connected supply with demand. Basic economics. Ava's stomach turned. She'd seen evil before, in war zones, in combat, in the eyes of men who'd tortured prisoners. But Kane's casual detachment was something different. He didn't see people. He saw inventory. You're going to prison, she said. Am I? Let's examine the evidence. Holloway's in custody, but his lawyers are excellent. Cross is compromised. He killed a federal contractor, which makes him unreliable. Carver's testimony is tainted because he's confessing to crimes himself. And you, Kane's smile widened. You're a nurse with a documented history of psychiatric instability who stole medical records and made wild accusations against a respected institution. The records prove everything. The records prove data existed. Not who created it, not when, not why. My legal team will argue that disgruntled employees falsified documents to create a narrative. They'll present expert witnesses who will testify that digital records can be manipulated. They'll drag this through appeals for years. He paused. Can you afford years, Miss Moreau? Can the federal government? Because I certainly can. Vickers stepped into frame. You're forgetting the patients we recovered. 42 people who can testify about what happened to them. 42 people with no legal identity, no documentation, and severe psychological trauma. Their testimony will be dismissed as unreliable. Some of them can barely remember their own names. Kane's expression didn't change. I've run the probabilities. Conviction rate on charges that will actually stick? Less than 30%. And even if I'm convicted, I'll serve 3 years in minimum security and retire comfortably to a country with no extradition treaty. Ava's hands clenched. Because he was right. She'd seen it before. Powerful people insulated by lawyers and money, skating through systems designed to protect them. So why are you telling us this? Reese asked. Because I want to offer Ms. Moreau a deal. The room went silent. I don't make deals with slavers, Ava said. Everyone makes deals. It's just a question of price. Kane leaned forward. Here's mine. You recant. Say you were mistaken, overwhelmed, suffering from PTSD. My legal team will arrange a settlement, comfortable, quiet, enough to live on for the rest of your life. In exchange, you disappear, permanently. And if I refuse, then I make you disappear anyway, but it won't be comfortable. His voice dropped. You think tonight was my only asset? I have people in every city you might run to, every agency you might seek protection from. You'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, wondering when the bullet's coming. Reese moved closer to the screen. You're threatening a federal witness. I'm stating facts. Miss Moreau has two choices: accept my offer and live, or refuse and suffer consequences I won't bother to enumerate because you're intelligent enough to imagine them. Kane checked his watch. You have 12 hours to decide. After that, the offer expires and different protocols activate. The screen went black. Ava stared at the empty laptop. Her pulse hammered. Her vision narrowed. Then Reese's hand was on her shoulder. Breathe. She did. Slow, controlled, combat breathing. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out. He's bluffing, Vickers said. He's not. Wu was still scanning the signal. He's confident, prepared. He's been planning for this contingency since the first arrest. But Brennan holstered his weapon. So what do we do? Ava turned, looked at each of them. We make him wrong. How? Vickers asked. He's assuming we'll play by legal rules, that we'll build a case through evidence and testimony and procedure, but he's already gamed that system. He's 10 steps ahead because he knows how it works. She moved to the laptop, staring at the dark screen. So we stop playing his game. Reese frowned. What are you suggesting? He said his conviction rate is 30%. That means there's a 70% chance he walks. Those are acceptable odds for him. So we make them unacceptable. Ava, we don't just prosecute him. We destroy him. Financially, professionally, personally. We burn down everything he built until there's nothing left to protect and nowhere left to hide. Vickers shook her head. That's not how the justice system works. The justice system already failed. 12 nurses are missing. 30 patients were sold like cattle. How many more before we stopped it? Ava's voice stayed level. Kane's right about one thing. Trials take years. Appeals take longer. People forget. Media moves on. And rich men with good lawyers walk. So what's your alternative? We make him a liability to everyone protecting him. Expose his network so thoroughly that his lawyers can't spin it. His investors can't distance themselves. His political connections can't save him. She looked at Wu. You tracked his signal through 14 countries, which means you have data on every relay point, every server, every connection. Wu caught on. If we reverse engineer the routing protocol, we can map his entire communication infrastructure. And from there? Financial transactions, encrypted files, maybe even location data if he's been sloppy. He hasn't been sloppy, Reese said. He's survived 15 years running a criminal empire. He doesn't make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Ava pulled out her phone. The message from Rebecca. The kill list. He made one tonight. He contacted us directly. Gave us his voice, his face, his arrogance. That's not actionable intelligence. It is if we use it right. She turned to Vickers. You said the board meeting was recorded. Do we have audio of Kane's voice during that call? Yes. Why? Because he just gave us a second sample. If we can match voice prints, we can prove the same person who ordered Protocol Omega is the same person who just threatened a federal witness on camera. Vickers' eyes narrowed. That's circumstantial. But it's another thread, combined with financial records, witness testimony, recovered patients, death by 1,000 cuts. None of it might convict him alone, but together? Ava looked around the room. We bury him so deep he never sees daylight again. Reese studied her face. This isn't about justice anymore. This is personal. It was always personal. He just made it explicit. Silence settled. Then Wu spoke. I can have a preliminary signal analysis in 6 hours. If we get lucky, I might find routing patterns that correlate with known Vanguard transactions. Brennan nodded. I'll coordinate with tactical teams. If we get a location, we can have assets on site in under an hour anywhere in the continental U.S. Vickers pulled out her phone. I'll brief the director, get authorization for expanded surveillance. But Ava, she paused. If this goes wrong, if we overstep and he walks because we violated procedure, that blood's on our hands. And if we follow procedure and he escapes? Ava met her eyes. How many more people disappear while we're filing motions? Vickers didn't answer. They worked through the night. Wu pulled server logs, cross-referenced IP addresses, built network maps that looked like conspiracy theories made digital. Brennan positioned tactical teams at 3 locations Kane had used in the past year, all empty but worth monitoring. Vickers coordinated with FBI field offices, preparing simultaneous raids on Vanguard assets nationwide. And Ava sat with the voice print analyst, listening to Kane's voice played back at different speeds, different frequencies, isolated from background noise. "It's definitely the same speaker," the analyst said. "Vocal patterns match, cadence, pitch variance. There's a 94% probability this is the same individual. Can you testify to that?" "In court?" "Yes. But a good defense attorney will challenge the methodology. Voice prints aren't as reliable as fingerprints. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be corroborating." The analyst nodded. "Then, yes, this will help." At 0400, Wu called everyone back to the operations center. "Got something. Kane's signal bounced through a server in Prague. I pulled the access logs, found 3 other connections from the same origin point in the last 72 hours. Different encryption, but same digital fingerprint. Meaning Kane's been using the same device to connect to multiple secure networks, which is sloppy. And it gets better." She pulled up financial records. "One of those connections accessed a bank in Switzerland. I can't see transaction details, but I can see timestamps. They correlate with wire transfers from Vanguard to offshore accounts." Reese leaned in. "How much money are we talking about?" $300 million, moved in the last 48 hours. Vickers swore. "He's liquidating." "Exactly. He's pulling assets out before they get frozen, which means he's preparing to run." Brennan checked his watch. "How long until he finishes?" "Hard to say, but if he moves this much this fast, he's working on a timeline. Days, maybe hours." Ava felt the urgency spike. "Can we freeze the accounts?" "Not without a court order, which takes time we don't have." "Then we force his hand." Ava pulled up the laptop Kane had used. "He gave us 12 hours to respond to his deal. We respond now. Tell him I'm considering it, that I want to meet in person to discuss terms." Reese shook his head. "That's suicide." "That's bait. He thinks he's in control. Let him think I'm breaking, that the pressure's too much, that I'm ready to deal. And when he realizes it's a trap, then we're already inside his perimeter." Vickers considered. "If we can get him in a physical location, even briefly, we can arrest him. No extradition concerns, no jurisdictional games." "He won't come," Brennan said. "He'll send proxies." "Maybe, but he's arrogant. He wanted to see me, to measure me. That ego's a vulnerability." Wu pulled up a secure messaging interface. "I can route a response through the same channels he used. Make it look like you're replying from an unsecured device, desperate, isolated." "Do it." Wu's fingers flew. A message appeared on screen. "I'll take the deal, but I need guarantees, face to face. Name the place." She hit send. They waited. 30 seconds. A minute. 5 minutes. Then a response. "Harlow City. Riverside Grace Medical Center. Rooftop. 1800 hours today. Come alone. Bring proof you've destroyed all copies of evidence. If I detect any federal presence, the deal is void and consequences immediate." Ava read it twice. "He wants to meet at the hospital." "That's insane," Vickers said. "The place is crawling with federal agents. He has to know that." "He does, which means he's either overconfident or he's planned for it." Reese pulled up building schematics. Riverside Grace has 3 helicopter landing pads, all on the roof. He could fly in, meet for 5 minutes, and extract before we respond. "Unless we're already there," Brennan said. "He said no federal presence." "He said no detectable presence. There's a difference." Ava studied the schematic. "The building has maintenance access tunnels, service elevators, storage areas. If we position people inside before he arrives, he won't see them on approach." Vickers frowned. "That's a lot of variables, a lot of things that can go wrong." "I know." "And if he's anticipating this, if he's prepared for an ambush, then we adapt." Ava looked at Reese. "You've run operations with worse odds. I've also buried people who took those odds. I'm not asking you to risk anyone else. I'll go in alone. You position teams for extraction. If it goes bad, you pull out." "No." His voice was final. "If you go, I go. We do this together or not at all." Ava wanted to argue, wanted to say she'd already put too many people at risk, but she'd been in enough firefights to know when to accept backup. Together, she agreed. They spent the next 6 hours preparing. Blueprints memorized, comms tested, extraction routes planned, tactical teams positioned in buildings with sightlines to the hospital rooftop, snipers on overwatch, EMTs on standby. At 1600 hours, Ava and Reese entered Riverside Grace through a service entrance. The building was officially closed pending federal investigation, but security remained. Federal agents in plain clothes, local police securing the perimeter. They made their way to the roof access stairwell. Brennan and Wu were already there, surveillance equipment set up in a utility closet. Got 3 drones in the air, Wu said. Thermal imaging shows no activity on the roof yet, but there's a helicopter inbound from the north. ETA, 12 minutes. Ava checked her weapon, reloaded even though the magazine was full. Old habit. Reese clipped a wire under his jacket. You'll be on comms the whole time. Anything feels wrong, you use the code word and we extract immediately. What's the code word? Nightingale. She almost smiled. Subtle. I'm a tactical operator, not a poet. At 1755, Ava stepped onto the roof. The city sprawled below her. Harlow City, 500,000 people, most of whom had no idea what had happened in the building beneath her feet. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. She walked to the center helipad. Waited. At 1758, she heard rotors. The helicopter appeared from the north, black civilian model, no markings. It circled once, then descended. Ava's heart rate climbed but stayed controlled. She kept her hands visible, empty. The helicopter touched down. The door opened. Victor Kane stepped out. He was shorter than she expected, trim, well-dressed, looked like a college professor or a philanthropist. Not a man who trafficked human beings. He walked toward her, stopping 10 feet away. Ms. Moreau, thank you for being reasonable. Where's your proof? She asked. You wanted evidence destroyed. I want guarantees first. He pulled out a tablet. I've prepared a legal document. You sign, transfer all evidence to my custody, and accept a settlement of $2 million wired to an account of your choosing. In exchange, you issue a public statement recanting all allegations and agree to a non-disclosure agreement with substantial penalties for violation. And if I refuse after signing, then you breach the contract and forfeit not only the settlement, but open yourself to civil litigation for defamation and theft of proprietary information. You'd spend the rest of your life in court in debt. He smiled. But you won't refuse, because you're exhausted, you're scared, and you want this to end. Ava took the tablet, read the document. It was real, legally binding, professionally drafted. How do I know you won't kill me anyway? Because dead witnesses create investigations. Discredited witnesses create footnotes. I prefer footnotes. He gestured to the tablet. Sign and this ends. Refuse. And I make one phone call and you're dead before you reach the stairwell. She looked at him, at the helicopter, at the city beyond. Then she said, You made a mistake. His expression didn't change. What mistake? You assumed I came here to deal. His eyes narrowed. Then he reached for his phone. Too late. Reese stepped out from behind the rooftop access door, weapon raised. Federal agents, drop the phone! Brennan appeared from the opposite side. Wu from the helicopter stairwell. 4 more agents from positions Kane hadn't seen. The helicopter pilot reached for the controls. A sniper's round punched through the canopy, missing him by inches. Warning shot. He froze. Kane's hand stopped midway to his pocket. He looked at Ava. You're making a mistake. No, I'm finishing one. She pulled out her phone, showed him the screen. Recording. Every word. You just admitted on camera to attempting witness tampering, bribery, and threatening a federal witness, with 6 armed federal agents as witnesses. His face went ashen. Victor Kane, Vickers said, walking onto the roof with credentials out. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit human trafficking, racketeering, wire fraud, money laundering, and about 40 other charges we'll add once our forensic accountants finish with your records. I want my lawyer. You'll get one. But first, Vickers nodded to Brennan, who cuffed Kane's hands behind his back. You're going to spend tonight in federal detention. No bail, no outside contact, just you and the reality that everything you built just collapsed. Kane's composure cracked. This won't stick. I have the best legal team money can buy. Had, Wu corrected. We froze your accounts 30 minutes ago. Emergency injunction. Your lawyers just got fired because you can't pay them. His eyes widened. You can't. Already did. Vickers gestured to the agents. Get him out of here. They walked Kane toward the stairwell. He twisted back, looking at Ava. You have no idea what you've done. The people I worked with, they won't let this stand. Let them try, Ava said quietly. They took him down. The roof cleared. The helicopter was grounded, pilot in custody, black box already pulled for evidence. Reese holstered his weapon. You okay? Yeah. That was risky. It worked. This time. She looked at him. You would have done the same. Probably doesn't make it less stupid, but his eyes held approval. Respect. They descended together. At the ground level, federal vehicles lined the street. Media vans were already arriving. Somehow, they always knew. Vickers met them in the lobby. Kane's lawyers are screaming, but it doesn't matter. Between his own recorded admissions, Carver's testimony, Cross's evidence, the recovered patients, and the financial records Wu pulled, we have enough to put him away for multiple lifetimes. What about the rest of the network? Ava asked. Raids are happening now. Simultaneous operations in 8 states. We've arrested 17 Vanguard executives, seized 12 facilities, and recovered 63 additional victims. She paused. It's the largest human trafficking bust in federal history. Ava felt something unclench in her chest. Not relief. Not yet. But acknowledgement. They'd actually done it. What happens to the patients? She asked. Medical evaluation, psychological support. We're working with immigration on the ones who aren't U.S. citizens. It'll take time, but they'll be taken care of. And the missing nurses? Vickers' expression darkened. We found 8 of them, alive, in various facilities, traumatized but recovering. 8 out of 12. We're still looking for the others. Ava nodded. Didn't ask what they both knew, that 4 months in a trafficking network meant the others were likely dead. Rebecca appeared, flanked by U.S. Marshals. She looked stronger, a steadier. When she saw Ava, her face broke into a tearful smile. You did it, she said. We did it. I just sent you information. You fought them. And you risked everything to make sure I had ammunition. Ava pulled her into a hug. None of this happens without you. Rebecca held on tight. What happens now? Now you testify. Help us make sure every single person involved goes to prison. I can do that. Jordan Stone was there too. Gave Ava a nod. No words. Didn't need them. Outside, news cameras were rolling, reporters shouting questions. Vickers glanced at Ava. You want to make a statement? No, this isn't about me. It kind of is. It's about the people who were hurt, the ones who survived, the ones who didn't. She looked at the building, Riverside Grace. She'd walked in here 6 months ago thinking she was starting a normal job. Let their stories tell it. Vickers nodded. Fair enough. They walked out together. Cameras flashed. Questions flew. Ms. Moreau, how does it feel to bring down a criminal empire? Were you scared they'd kill you? What do you say to people who doubted your story? Ava ignored them all, kept walking, got into Reese's SUV and drove away. They went back to the operations center. Wu was still there, screens glowing, tracking the nationwide raids in real time. Philadelphia field office just arrested the COO of Vanguard, she reported. Chicago got the CFO. Seattle grabbed 2 more board members trying to board a private plane to Singapore. How many total? Reese asked. 23 arrests so far. Asset seizures in the hundreds of millions, and it's just getting started. She pulled up a news feed. This is already international. European authorities are opening parallel investigations, so is Interpol. Brennan walked in with coffee, handed one to Ava. You're a celebrity. I'm a nurse. You're both. She sipped the coffee. It tasted like victory and exhaustion. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. For a moment, her pulse spiked, conditioned response. Then she opened it. You saved my daughter. She was transferred from Riverside Grace 4 months ago. Federal agents found her in Montana today. I don't know how to thank you. Ava's eyes burned. She showed it to Reese. He read it, nodded. That's why we do this. More messages came in over the next hour, from families, from recovered patients, from people who'd been told their loved ones were dead and now had hope. At 2200 hours, Vickers called. "We've got a problem." Ava's stomach dropped. "What now?" Kane's lawyers filed an emergency appeal. They're arguing that his arrest was illegal, that you entrapped him, that the recording is inadmissible. We had probable cause. I know, and it won't work, but they're stalling, trying to get him released on bail while they litigate procedure. Can they win? No, but they can delay, and delay creates opportunities. Ava set down her coffee. What kind of opportunities? The kind where rich men with connections find ways to disappear while the courts argue over paperwork. How long until the hearing? 72 hours. Ava's jaw tightened. Then we make sure he doesn't walk. How? We give the judge something they can't ignore. Public pressure, media attention, victim testimony. She looked at Reese. We make this so visible, so documented, that letting him go becomes politically impossible. Reese nodded. I'll coordinate with the families, get statements, prepare them for media if they're willing. Wu pulled up a press list. I can contact journalists, the legitimate ones. Make sure the story gets told right. Brennan stood. And I'll make sure Kane stays exactly where he is until that hearing. They worked through the night again. By morning, the story had exploded. Every major network, international coverage, survivor testimonials, expert analysis, political pressure mounting. The hearing happened on schedule. Ava sat in the gallery, Reese beside her. Kane was brought in wearing orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed, surrounded by U.S. Marshals. His lawyers argued procedure, technicalities, constitutional violations. The judge listened, then called for victim statements. One by one, people stood. Patients who'd been trafficked, families who'd lost loved ones, nurses who'd been threatened into silence. Rebecca testified. Jordan testified. Dr. Cross testified. And when it was done, the judge looked at Kane's lawyers. Motion denied. The defendant will remain in federal custody pending trial. No bail. Given the severity of charges and demonstrated flight risk, this court sees no basis for release. The gavel fell. Kane's face went blank. Disbelief. Then rage. He twisted in his seat, looking at Ava. She met his eyes. Didn't smile. Didn't gloat. Just looked at him until he turned away. Outside the courthouse, media surrounded them. This time Ava stopped. I have a statement, she said. Cameras focused, microphones extended. 6 months ago, I walked into Riverside Grace Medical Center to save lives. Instead, I found a system designed to destroy them. People who should have been cared for were sold. People who should have been protected were silenced. And when I spoke up, I was labeled crazy, unstable, a liar. She paused. Let the words land. But I wasn't alone. There were others, nurses, doctors, patients, who knew the truth, who risked everything to make sure it came to light. This isn't my victory, it's theirs. And it's a reminder that when systems fail, when power corrupts, when money tries to silence truth, people still matter. Voices still matter. And the fight for justice, no matter how hard, is always worth it. She stepped back. Reese guided her through the crowd to a waiting vehicle. Inside, she exhaled, long, slow. You did good, he said. We did good. Yeah, we did. They drove in silence for a while. Then Ava's phone rang. Unknown number again. She almost didn't answer. Then she did. A woman's voice. Young, scared. Miss Moreau? Yes? My name is Sarah. I was a nurse at Riverside Grace. I disappeared 8 months ago. Ava's breath caught. Where are you? I don't know. Somewhere in Canada. They moved us. But I saw the news. I saw you and I... Her voice broke. I need help. We're coming. Stay on the line. Tell me everything you remember. Reese was already making calls. Wu was tracing the signal, because the fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. Wu had the signal locked within 90 seconds. She's calling from a cell tower near Vancouver, border region, rural. Sarah's breathing was ragged on the line. Ava kept her voice calm, steady. Sarah, listen to me. You're safe now. We're going to get you out. But I need you to stay focused. Can you do that? Yes. Good. Are you alone? No. There are 6 of us. All nurses. They've been moving us between facilities, making us work without pay. If we refuse, her voice broke. One woman tried to run. They made an example of her. Ava's grip on the phone tightened. Is she alive? I don't know. They took her away 3 months ago. Reese was already coordinating with Canadian authorities. FBI liaison. Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Jurisdictional nightmares solved with phone calls and federal authority. Sarah, I need you to describe where you are. Everything you can see. We're in a building. Looks like an old medical clinic. There's forest around it. Mountains in the distance. They keep us locked in at night. Guards outside. 3 of them, I think. Are they armed? Yes. Ava glanced at Reese. He nodded, already planning. Okay. Here's what I need you to do. Find somewhere safe to hide this phone. Keep it on. We're going to use it to track your exact location. Don't try to escape. Don't do anything that might alert the guards. Just stay quiet and wait. We're coming. How long? 6 hours. Maybe less. What if they move us first? Then we'll find you again. I promise. Ava's voice held steel. You survived 8 months. You can survive 6 more hours. Trust me. A pause. Then, I trust you. The line stayed open, but went quiet. Sarah had hidden the phone. Reese was off his own phone, turning to the team. RCMP is mobilizing a tactical unit. Canadian Border Services is coordinating. We've got permission to cross as federal observers, but they take point on the raid. How fast can we get there? Ava asked. Helicopter to the border, then ground transport. 4 hours if we move now. Then we move. Vickers appeared in the doorway. I just got off with the deputy director. You're authorized to accompany the operation as a material witness and subject matter expert. But Ava, she fixed her with a look. Your observation only. No tactical engagement. Understood. They lifted off at 0300 hours. The helicopter cut through darkness, lights of Harlow City falling away below. Ava watched the landscape change, urban sprawl giving way to forest, then mountains, then the vast expanse of wilderness that marked the border region. Brennan sat across from her, checking equipment. Wu was running signals intelligence, tracking Sarah's phone, building a digital picture of the compound. Reese studied tactical maps, coordinating with the RCMP team they'd meet on the ground. We're getting intermittent audio, Wu said, headphones on. Sounds like a medical facility. Equipment, voices, someone giving orders about patient intake. How many voices? At least 8 distinct speakers. Could be more. So not just guards. A full operation. They landed at a staging area 15 miles from the target. RCMP tactical team was already there. 12 officers, full gear, experienced faces. The team leader introduced himself as Sergeant William McKay, mid-40s, looked like he'd done this before. We've got surveillance drones over the compound, he said, pulling up thermal imaging on a tablet. Confirming 6 heat signatures in the main building, 3 outside on patrol, 2 in a guardhouse, 1 in what looks like an office. 12 total, Reese said, plus an unknown number of potential hostages. Your contact said 6 nurses. We're seeing movement patterns consistent with detained individuals. Limited range, supervised. Ava studied the layout. Single-story structure. Reinforced doors, fence perimeter, professional setup. This isn't improvised, she said. Someone built this to hold people. We're aware, McKay said. We've had reports of suspicious activity in this area for months. Never enough for a warrant. But if your intel is solid, we're going in hard and fast. It's solid. Then we move at 0500. First light. Minimize risk to hostages. He looked at Ava. You stay in the command vehicle. We'll extract your people and bring them to you. She wanted to argue, wanted to be there when they kicked in the doors, but she also knew better than to interfere with tactical operations. Understood. The next 90 minutes crawled. Ava sat in the command vehicle with Wu, watching thermal feeds, listening to radio chatter as the team moved into position. Perimeter secured. Sniper overwatch established. Breach team ready. At 0459, McKay's voice. All units stand by. At 0500, execute. The feed showed it in real time. Flashbangs, doors breached, Tactical teams flooding the building, shouting. Movement. 3 guards down in under 20 seconds. Non-lethal. Hands zip-tied. Faces pressed to the floor. Then voices on comms. Hostages located. 6 females requesting medical. Ava's chest loosened slightly. Building secure, detaining 4 additional subjects. Medical staff. Cooperative. Then, Commander, you need to see this. McKay's response. What? We've got files, patient records, transport logs. This place was operating as a black site medical facility. Experimental procedures. Unlicensed surgeries. Ava closed her eyes. Of course it was. Kane's network hadn't ended with his arrest. It had metastasized, spread across borders, adapted. 15 minutes later, they brought the nurses out. Blankets around shoulders, paramedics checking vitals, federal agents taking statements. Sarah was among them, late 20s, blonde hair pulled back, face hollowed by months of trauma. When she saw Ava, she started crying. Ava met her at the vehicle. No words, just pulled her into a hug and held on. You came, Sarah whispered. I promised. I didn't think... She couldn't finish. I know, but you're out now. You're safe. And the people who did this are going to pay. The other nurses gathered around. Ava learned their names, their stories. 8 months of captivity, forced labor, threats, isolation. One had been a pediatric nurse, another an OR specialist. All experienced, all taken because they'd asked the wrong questions at the wrong hospitals. How many facilities are there? Ava asked Sarah. I don't know. They moved us 3 times. Each place was different, but they all had the same setup. Locked doors, guards. No outside contact. Did you ever see who was running it? No. But the guards talked. They mentioned someone called the broker. Said he coordinated everything. Patient transfers, staff assignments, money. Ava looked at Reese. He was already on the phone. McKay approached with an evidence bag. Inside, a laptop. Found this in the office. Password protected, but your tech specialist might have better luck with it than we do. Wu took it. I'll have it cracked within the hour. They transported the nurses to a medical facility in Vancouver. Full evaluations, trauma counseling, federal protection. By the time Ava walked into the hospital waiting room, it was 0900 and she'd been awake for 30 hours straight. Vickers was waiting. All 6 nurses are stable. Physically, they'll recover. Psychologically, she shrugged. That'll take longer. What about the people running the facility? In custody. 11 total. Mix of security, medical staff, and administrative. They're all talking, pointing fingers, blaming each other. Classic. She paused. But they all mention the same name. The broker. Do we have an ID? Not yet. But Wu's working on that laptop. If we're lucky, it'll have communication logs. Ava nodded, felt exhaustion pulling at her edges. I need coffee. You need sleep. Coffee first. She found a cafeteria, sat alone with burnt hospital coffee and a window view of rain-soaked Vancouver. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. Just saw the news. You found them. All of them. Not all, Ava thought. 4 nurses were still missing. Dozens of patients still unaccounted for. But it was progress. She texted back. Getting closer. Reese found her 20 minutes later. Sat down without asking. Wu cracked the laptop. Ava straightened. And? Emails, financial records, transport manifests, and a name. He slid his phone across the table. A photo. Man in his 50s, expensive suit, corporate headshot. Who is he? David Rostov, former COO of a pharmaceutical company, resigned 5 years ago under suspicious circumstances, disappeared, resurfaced as a consultant for medical logistics. Reese's expression was grim. He's the broker. He's been coordinating the network since Kane set it up. When Kane got arrested, Rostov went independent, started expanding. Canada, Mexico, probably Europe. Where is he now? Unknown, but the laptop has communication logs. Wu's tracing them. Ava's hands curled around her coffee cup. We need to find him before he disappears completely. We will, but it'll take time, resources, international cooperation. How much time? Weeks, maybe months. She wanted to scream, wanted to put a fist through the wall, but she'd learned patience in places where impatience got people killed. Then we start now. Wu called 2 hours later. Got a location. Rostov's been using an encrypted messaging service. I traced the server to an IP address in Mexico City. He's there. Or was 12 hours ago. Vickers coordinated with Mexican federal authorities. Interpol, FBI International Division. By 1400 hours, they had approval for a joint operation. By 1600, Ava was on a plane south. Mexico City was chaos and beauty, 20 million people, sprawling streets, mountains in the distance. They touched down at 2100 local time and were met by Agencia Federal de Investigación officers who escorted them to a secure facility. The briefing was conducted in rapid Spanish and English, Wu translating when necessary. Rostov was staying at a luxury hotel under a false name. Surveillance confirmed his presence. Mexican authorities wanted him for their own trafficking investigations. Everyone wanted him. The raid was set for 0400. Ava spent the hours between trying to sleep and failing, thinking about the nurses, the patients, the entire network of suffering Kane and Rostov had built. At 0330, they rolled out. The hotel was high-end, marble lobby, attentive staff who didn't ask questions when federal agents flooded the building. They locked down exits, cleared floors, moved with precision. Rostov's room was on the 18th floor, corner suite, commanding view of the city. The breach team positioned. Ava watched from the hallway with Reese. AFI, open the door! No response. They used a battering ram. The door splintered. Agents poured in, shouting, movement, then silence. An agent emerged. He's not here. Ava's stomach dropped. What? Room's empty. Bed hasn't been slept in. But there's evidence he was here. Laptop, clothes, passport. Fake, but high quality. Wu rushed past, tablet in hand. She scanned the room, checked the laptop, pulled data. He left 90 minutes ago. There's a calendar notification on his phone, linked to the laptop. Meeting at 500. Location listed as... She frowned. Aeropuerto Internacional. He's running, Reese said, heading for the airport. They moved fast. Convoy racing through pre-dawn Mexico City streets. The airport was massive. 2 terminals, dozens of gates, hundreds of flights. Wu pulled flight manifests while they drove. 3 international departures between 0500 and 0600. Buenos Aires, Madrid, Tokyo. I'm cross-referencing passenger lists against known aliases. She stopped. Got him. Flight 447 to Tokyo. Boarding in 20 minutes. Passenger listed as Michael Brennan. Real Brennan, sitting in the vehicle, raised an eyebrow. Creative. They reached the airport at 0448. AFI agents were already coordinating with airport security, locking down the terminal, pulling security footage. Ava scanned the crowds. Business travelers, families, students. Anyone could be Rostov. Then she saw him. Not at the gate. At a coffee kiosk. Gray hair, reading glasses, suit, carry-on bag, looking exactly like a businessman catching an early flight. There, she said. Reese followed her gaze, nodded to the team. They moved in quietly, surrounded him. No drama, no scene. An AFI agent approached. David Rostov? The man looked up. I think you have the wrong person. We have the right person. The agent showed credentials. You're under arrest for human trafficking, conspiracy, and about 20 other charges in 3 countries. Please come with us. Rostov's face went blank, then calculating. I'd like to speak to my lawyer. You'll get the chance. After you're processed. They cuffed him, walked him through the terminal. Travelers stared but didn't intervene. Outside, media had already arrived. Somehow they always did. Cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions in Spanish and English. Rostov kept his head down, said nothing. They put him in a vehicle, drove him to the federal facility. In the interrogation room, he lawyered up immediately, refused to talk, sat stone-faced while his attorney negotiated. But they didn't need him to talk. The laptop had everything: names, locations, financial transactions, a complete map of the network he'd built after Kane's arrest. Within 48 hours, coordinated raids hit facilities in 6 countries, 23 arrests. 94 victims recovered, patients and staff, held against their will, forced into labor, or used as test subjects for experimental procedures. The missing nurses were among them, all 12, alive. When Ava got the news, she sat down and cried. Reese found her in the hotel room, face in her hands, shoulders shaking. "You okay?" She nodded, couldn't speak yet. He sat beside her, didn't say anything, just waited. Finally, "They're alive, all of them." "I know. I thought," she swallowed, "I thought we'd lost them." "We didn't because you didn't give up." She wiped her eyes, looked at him. "We didn't give up." "Yeah, we didn't." The trials took 9 months. Kane was convicted on 47 counts, sentenced to life in federal prison without possibility of parole. His lawyers appealed, lost. He'd spend the rest of his life in a cell. Rostov faced charges in 3 countries, convicted in all of them, sentenced to consecutive terms totaling 80 years. Dr. Nathan Cross testified for the prosecution in exchange for reduced charges. He'd spend 15 years in prison, eligible for parole in 10 if he continued cooperating. Agent Tom Carver was convicted of corruption and conspiracy. 20 years. Federal prison. No parole. Marcus Holloway, the man who'd started it all, who'd tried to erase Ava, who'd smiled while threatening her, was convicted on 32 counts. Life sentence. No parole. When they read the verdict, he looked at Ava across the courtroom. She looked back, didn't smile, didn't gloat, just watched him realize he'd lost everything. The civil suits came next, families of victims, recovered patients, states seeking damages. By the time it was done, Vanguard Capital Group was dissolved, assets liquidated, money distributed to victims and their families. Riverside Grace Medical Center was shut down permanently. The building sat empty for 6 months before the city bought it, planning to convert it into a community health center. Free clinic, mental health services, addiction treatment, something that actually helped people. Ava testified 11 times, federal court, state court, international tribunals. Each time she told the truth, calmly, precisely. Let the facts speak. Defense attorneys tried to discredit her, brought up her psychiatric evaluation, called her biased, suggested she fabricated evidence. Every time the jury sided with her, because the evidence was overwhelming. The victims were real, the crimes were documented, and Ava Moreau was done being silenced. Between trials, she worked with a victims' advocacy group, helped recovered patients navigate the system, connected them with resources, testified before Congress about healthcare corruption and patient protections. 12 months after Kane's arrest, she received a call from the Department of Justice. "Miss Moreau, I'm calling on behalf of the Attorney General. We'd like to offer you a position as a special consultant on healthcare fraud and patient safety." She'd expected something like this. What would that involve? Working with federal investigators to identify and dismantle trafficking networks, training law enforcement on red flags, testifying as an expert witness. Basically, using your experience to prevent this from happening again. She thought about it, about going back into hospitals, about facing down people like Kane and Holloway. "Can I think about it?" "Take all the time you need." She talked to Reese, to Rebecca, to the other nurses who'd survived. "What do you want to do?" Reese asked. "I want to make sure no one else goes through what we did." "Then you already know your answer." She accepted the position. For the next 2 years, she traveled the country, investigated suspicious hospitals, trained federal agents, identified patterns, shut down 3 more trafficking operations before they could fully establish. Saved lives. Lots of them. Rebecca joined her after 6 months, then Jordan, then 2 of the nurses recovered from Canada. They became a team. Specialists. People who understood the system because they'd survived it. Ava's phone still buzzed with messages. From families thanking her. From survivors sharing their stories. From people who'd heard about what she'd done and found courage to speak up about their own experiences. She answered everyone. 3 years after that morning in the airport terminal, after Marcus Holloway had smiled and called her a mental patient, after Victor Kane had threatened her, after she'd fought her way from disgrace to vindication, Ava stood on a stage in Washington, D.C. The venue was packed, press, politicians, advocates, survivors. She was receiving the Presidential Citizens Medal for her work exposing the trafficking network and reforming patient protection laws. The president shook her hand. On behalf of the nation, thank you for your courage and your service. Ava accepted the medal, looked out at the crowd, saw Reese, Vickers, Wu, Brennan, Rebecca, Jordan, Sarah, saw families of victims, recovered patients who'd rebuilt their lives, saw the face of a movement she'd helped start. The president stepped back. The crowd waited for her speech. She kept it short. 3 years ago, I was a nurse who saw something wrong and spoke up. I was told I was crazy, unstable, a liar. I was drugged, kidnapped, and threatened. People tried to erase me because I refused to be silent. She paused. Let the words settle. But I wasn't alone. There were others, nurses, patients, investigators, who refused to accept that powerful people were above justice, who fought back, who risked everything because they believed the truth mattered. She looked at the medal in her hands. This isn't my award. It's theirs. It belongs to every person who survived, every family who lost someone and demanded answers, every investigator who wouldn't give up, every prosecutor who took on a system designed to protect the guilty. She lifted her head, met the cameras. And it's a promise that we won't stop, that we'll keep fighting, that every person who thinks they can abuse power, who thinks they can silence victims, who thinks money and influence make them untouchable, we're coming for you. And we will not stop until you face justice. The room erupted. Applause. Standing ovation. Ava stepped back from the podium, shook more hands, accepted congratulations. But what she remembered most was later that night. She'd gone back to her hotel, sat alone with the medal, thought about the journey. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then she did. A young woman's voice, scared, desperate. Ms. Moreau? My name is Amanda. I'm a nurse at a hospital in Phoenix, and I think something terrible is happening here. People are disappearing, records are being changed, and when I tried to report it, they put me on administrative leave and said I need a psychiatric evaluation. Ava closed her eyes, felt the familiar weight settle on her shoulders. Then she opened them, picked up a pen. Tell me everything. Because the fight wasn't over. It would never be over. But now she knew how to win. She'd been dismissed, discredited, nearly destroyed, and she'd come back stronger, not because she was special, not because she was fearless, but because she refused to let fear win, because she'd learned that power isn't permanent, that systems can be changed, that one voice, speaking truth, can bring down empires, and because she'd discovered something Marcus Holloway and Victor Kane never understood, the people they tried to silence weren't weak. They were the strongest ones in the room, they just hadn't realized it yet. Ava Moreau had. And she spent the rest of her life making sure others did too. Years later, when journalists asked her about that morning at the airport, about facing down Holloway, about the signal to Reese, about the moment everything changed, she always said the same thing. I wasn't trying to be brave. I was trying to survive. But somewhere along the way, I realized survival wasn't enough. Justice was worth fighting for. Truth was worth defending. And the people who'd been hurt deserved someone who wouldn't back down. Do you regret any of it? They'd ask. Every day, she'd answer, honestly. I regret that it had to happen at all. That people suffered. That lives were destroyed. But do I regret fighting back? Never. What would you say to someone in a similar situation? Someone who's seen something wrong but is afraid to speak up? She'd think about that. About the nurses in locked facilities. About the patients who'd been sold. About herself, standing in that basement room, hands zip-tied, being told she'd disappear. I'd say you're not alone. That fear is real and valid. But silence has a cost too. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is tell one person the truth. Find someone you trust, document everything, and remember, they want you to think you're powerless. That's the lie. You're not. You never were. And if they don't believe you, then you find someone who will. And you keep going. Because the truth doesn't need everyone to believe it. It just needs enough people, the right people. And it needs someone willing to speak it, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. The medal sat on her desk now. Reminder, not of what she'd accomplished, but of what was possible when ordinary people refused to accept that the powerful were untouchable. She looked at it sometimes, thought about Kane in his prison cell, Holloway behind bars, Rostov facing decades of incarceration. Thought about the 94 people recovered, the hundreds more saved because the network was destroyed. Thought about Amanda in Phoenix, and the dozen other calls she'd answered since. People who'd seen the news, who'd heard the story, who'd found courage because someone else had fought first. That was the real victory. Not the arrests, not the convictions, not the medal, but the ripple effect. The knowledge that one person speaking up could change everything. Ava Moreau had been a nurse who saved a patient and lost her career. She'd become the woman who brought down a trafficking empire and gave others the courage to fight back. She'd been called crazy, unstable, a liar. And she'd proven that the strongest voices are often the ones people try hardest to silence, because they're telling truths no one wants to hear, and those truths, once spoken, cannot be unheard. The powerful know this. That's why they fight so hard to keep people quiet, and that's exactly why speaking up matters. Ava understood that now. She'd lived it, survived it, won. And every day she woke up and did it again. Not for medals or recognition, but because somewhere, someone was being told they didn't matter, that their voice was worthless, that power was permanent and justice was a dream. And Ava Moreau had made it her life's work to prove them wrong. One case at a time, one voice at a time, one truth at a time. Until the whole world knew. The people in the shadows, the ones they tried to erase, the nurses and patients, and ordinary citizens who refused to be silent. They were the ones who changed everything, and they always would be.